So last month we talked all about how we met.
Yeah.
More than 20 plus years in the game, almost 20 years married now.
Yeah.
And quite often, like, people want to hear the how I met your mother, how I met your father, how we met kind of
The
story.
origin story.
Yeah, the origin story, to give them hope and things like that. But I think it's something that quite often we don't talk about that can give even more hope.
Yeah.
And that's the story of what almost broke us. I mean, because 20 years in the game doesn't mean 20 years of marriage bliss and happiness and joy. There was some valley seasons in there that I think people truly got to understand, that if you want the happily ever after, what is it coming after?
Yeah. That's good. That's good. And I think that this has been part of our story that has always been the hardest for me to share, because you want everyone to see the good and not necessarily see the bad. But I've come to understand the benefit in understanding those valley seasons, because it's not all bad. Like, those seasons are definitely seasons that help stretch you, grow you, make you a better couple if you recognize where you are and you're willing to get out of that season, because you can't just stay there. And I think sometimes that's what happens to couples. I mean, that's essentially almost what happened to us. We stayed in those seasons for so long because, one, it took us forever to recognize the season, and two, we didn't know how to get out. So I think as we share this part of our story, it can bring hope and healing to a lot of people to understand that it wasn't always like this.
Yeah.
What you see today is not who we've always been. All right, guys, welcome back. I'm Gleacy.
And I'm Al.
And here, Forever I Do, y'all, we teach you how to brag.
Build your relationship
according to God. So here we are again, just looking to have an open, honest conversation about things that I think will truly impact our community. Those couples that are looking to get married, those couples that are newly engaged or newlyweds, and even people that's been married for a long time. Like, everybody can get something out of these conversations that we're hoping to share.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, as we were talking, like, what do you think from your perspective were the things that almost broke us?
Yeah. And I like that we talking about, like, being in the valley, because understanding or recognizing that you're in the valley means that you actually can see the mountain. And I think quite often we know the mountain's there and we see the mountain. And for most of us, more than 50% of us, we see the mountain as a reason to turn and go the other way.
Yeah.
We don't see the mountain as something to climb.
Yeah.
And if we don't see it as something to climb, then it's no way, again, like, we're not going to see the happily ever after if we don't understand that it comes after you've been in those valley seasons and you climb to the top. And now you look back and you're happy because you grew. You're happy because you fought. You're happy because you stood 10 toes down. And what almost broke us? We saw the mountain and we said, it's time to go another way.
Yeah.
The mountain for us was pursuing careers. The mountain for us was not having a vision for our marriage. The mountain for us was making it up as we go along. The mountain for us was a lack of transparency, not knowing how to love each other. It was a lot of mountains. It was, or I would say, all of those things hit us at once, and the mountain was huge.
Yeah.
And again, it made us say, are we even supposed to be going forward? Like, because I can't even see on the other side of this thing. I can't even see the top of it, man.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned all those different things. And I know, like, in the beginning, career was a big thing for us because, and I think you've shared this story before of how driven we both were separately, like, coming into marriage. Like, we've had our own specific successes in different areas, and Now you're having these two driven people come together, but the things that are driving you are not like the same.
Together.
Like,
It's not
yes,
like
it's
you
not.
doing. It's not coming together. We
Yes.
aren't driven to come together. We were
Yeah.
driven to pursue the path we were already
Yeah.
on.
Almost like we were competing.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
okay, you got that. I did this. You did this. I did this. You did this, and not understanding that your wins were my wins. And like
yeah,
when
absolutely.
you were successful, that meant that I was successful as well. And I think our careers were definitely a big factor in how we viewed each other in the beginning. It wasn't like you were my teammate, it was like you were my competition. And it was never supposed to be that way.
But that came after
Yeah,
vision
yeah,
because prior to that, again, like, uh, and I think it's often forgotten, like when you decide that you're going to say I do to somebody, like you're thinking about the marriage, but you're not thinking about everything that you were building before the marriage.
mm,
And you hear the words of two becoming one and things like that, but how many of us are honestly having a conversation of what does it mean or what does it even look like
yeah,
to merge those two independent visions that you already had? How do you merge them to make one
yeah,
vision? How do you make what is the process of becoming one?
mm-hmm.
And again, like I had a picture of everything that I saw before we even said I do. I had a vision of all of that stuff. And I guess I assumed that, well, if you're going to be my wife, you're just going to come along for the ride. And we vaguely talked about those things. Like I was like, oh, I wanna do this in my career and I want to travel and all that stuff like that. But we never actually had the conversation of what that looks like.
Mm-hmm. So
So
it's like having a thought or an
yeah,
idea without
yeah,
a plan
yeah,
or what it's going to look like. And I think that's real. I think that's so many things in life. It's like, oh, I want this great marriage. But what does it look like to build a great marriage? Because it doesn't just
yeah,
happen. So I do think that it's not enough to just have the thought of, oh, I want to travel on my career. But what does that look like for
yeah,
us?
yeah, yeah. Because I can remember, like in the beginning of our marriage, we hardly saw each other.
Yeah.
So 7 days a week, we both work in shift work. You're going to school. I'm in a position where I'm trying to get my foot in the door. So I took whatever shift they gave me. So I'm working the evening shift at work. And I think you were working a night shift
Mm-hmm.
and you were going to school during the day.
Yeah.
And I remember we saw each other one day a week. Like we saw each other on Sundays long enough to go to church. We were still doing that at least. Go to church together. But we just continued to drift apart because we were not spending the time together you need to get to know your spouse, get to know the other person.
Mm-hmm.
So the tensions just continued to grow. And it was unspoken because we didn't know how to communicate well.
Mm-hmm.
So we just went through the motion because we just thought, like, I guess this is what it looks like when two people are building careers.
Yeah.
And this is how I support you by just being.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was times where we really didn't even know what each other was doing as far as where we were in our career because we were just pursuing. And because of that, all the other things started to slip in. Like I said, the pursuing our careers led to lack of communication. Um, Pursuing our careers meant we weren't sitting down and painting out a vision. Pursuing our careers meant we were already doing that separately, so it was easy for us to do other things separately.
Mm-hmm.
So finances was being done separately, all these different things, and we were just essentially creating the gap for the enemy to insert themselves and continue to drive us further apart.
Yeah. And man, we did that for a long time.
Yeah,
We did that for a long time. And then I think it was just like, it got to the point where it's just like, what are we doing? Like, who are you? Because we weren't spending time together. And I think probably the glue that at least held us together in those rough seasons was the fact that we still did go to church.
yeah,
We still did have a relationship with God. But that was it. That was it. We did not know what it looked like to be a husband and wife. We did not know what it looked like to be friends. It was just like roommates, essentially that's what it was like. Because like you said, we didn't even know what the other person was doing sometimes. So like I do think that it's really important to understand that while building your careers and pursuing endeavors and things like that, you still have to maintain that relationship with your spouse. It's important to still talk about what's going on in your life, because as your wife, I want to be your biggest cheerleader, but if I don't know what's going on, how can I cheer you on? If I don't know what's going on, how can I pray for you? So just understanding that we're not saying you cannot pursue those
Yeah,
things,
absolutely.
but it has to be put into perspective, and it can't be first.
And it can't be without vision.
Yeah.
And that's what came later for us,
Yeah.
where we actually sat down and we talked about, well, what does it look like for you to continue to pursue your career? What does it look like for me? And we had to understand that we both couldn't be running full speed after our careers at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had to decide to say, okay, I'll stay put right now. Not meaning I still don't have ambitions, I still don't have goals, but I will stay put right now so that I can support your goals so you can go as far as you can. And we decided on a time limit. You will go as far as you can in this time frame. And I will support you and push you and walk alongside you. And then when we get to that, however far you made it at that particular time, now we'll switch up and then I'll do the same and I'll pursue my career for X number of however long we decide. And I'll go as far as I can. And then I'll see wherever I stop, wherever I'm at that moment is where I'll stop. And then we kind of had to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Again, you talk about that before you get married, but what does it look like? And we had to paint the picture of what that will look like. And along the way, we had to realize we need a vision in some other areas too. We need a vision for finances. We need a vision for communication. We need a vision for even children, because we wanted to have children as well, but we didn't even carve out a space for that to fit.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to map all this stuff out. And again, I can remember when it almost broke us, because I remember like we were going to like a swimming park, a water park or something like that. And we were driving in two separate vehicles. I don't even know. I was driving. You were already there. We drove in two separate vehicles for whatever reason. We had family and everything there. And I just remember getting to some heated exchange. And essentially, when I finally got to that water park and tried to have the conversation, it wasn't healthy at all. And to me, it was a moment where you had kind of aligned yourself with your family, your father. And I remember one thing being said of, because careers came up again, and it was, you want me to leave everything behind I know and love. And to me, that was a point where I was like, we're done. Because if leaving everything you know and love behind meant not going with me, then I wasn't what you knew and loved. And I know we had that conversation later on, but to me, that was the moment where I was like, this is over. And we're about to go our separate ways.
Yeah. But what changed that?
What changed it was, again, I think it was after that moment where we finally went to counseling. And I remember, like, I'm not going to speak for you, but I believe we both thought it was over, because when I first came to you with counseling, it was, do you remember what you said?
Oh, I'm not going to have somebody teach me how to get a divorce or
Yeah,
something along those lines.
So we couldn't even come to agreement and alignment for counseling, but you went.
Yeah.
And then through counseling, we unpacked all this stuff, all of the things I already mentioned. We started unpacking it.
We dumped it on the bed.
Yeah, we found the origin for it. And yeah, I always use that analogy as like going on vacation, coming home with all your suitcases, unpacking everything, laying it all out on the bed nice and neat now. and not having an idea of where any of it goes. So we're sitting there with a bed full of stuff and nowhere to put it.
Yeah. And we didn't even know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Like the counselor helped us find the origin to all these
Yeah.
feelings and all the things that had happened, but she didn't really help us figure out what to do with it. And it wasn't until that second part of like what healed us is finding community through our.
And that's not to say don't go to counseling, because it absolutely was helpful, because we would not have even known what to unpack had we not done that.
Yeah, but it's not enough. It's always some action steps or some things that you need to do after counseling. And through our local church, we found we call connect groups, and we went to a marriage connect group. And for me, it was the first time that I realized that other couples have these issues too. Because, when you're doing life by yourself or like in isolation, because we didn't really have people that we could talk to. We didn't have mentors and things like that.
Problem.
Yeah. We figured out that we were having normal married people issues. It's just that these other people had found a community to kind of help them through those normal issues. And it wasn't until we got into that connect group where me as a wife, I felt seen.
Yeah.
I felt like I was okay. Like I wasn't failing as a wife. I felt like other women understood what was going on in my mind. Because, when things aren't going the best, it's the woman, you be the peacekeeper and all these other things. When you don't see that, it sometimes can make you start to question you, but to see these other women share their story about how they felt like they weren't the peacekeeper and all these other things, it kind of set a new fire. It sparked a new flame in me, and I was very grateful. And then in addition to hearing the wife's perspective, hearing other husbands' perspective too, and I'm like, oh, my husband's not crazy. Like, he's normal, but like these are just things that men go through. Especially like growing up, I feel like my parents did hide a lot of things from us. Like we didn't always see like the conflicts. We just saw like the silent treatment and things like that. So like just being around other people who were trying to pursue the same thing, like a healthy marriage, building a great family, and, just seeing those things, it really made a difference for me.
Yeah. And it's not like we weren't looking for those things along the way, because we knew we were struggling.
Yeah.
We knew we were having issues, and we were trying to find mentors. Like I even think like a part of our premarital counseling was like, have a mentor, a couple, or whatever. And we were looking. We spent years looking.
Yeah.
And everybody kept it surface. Nobody wanted to truly unpack what it took to have a healthy marriage. And I don't know if that was because they didn't have one. But we could not find what we were looking for. We were trying to find people our age that were doing the same thing. But the people our age were running the street. Mm-hmm. And then the older people just kept it surface. Mm-hmm. They never actually invited us to have the conversation of what it actually took to build a good marriage. They would always say things like happy wife, happy life. This is what the husband said to me. Or I just learned how to say yes, dear. And I'm just like, what? Like, is that it? Mm-hmm. I'm just supposed to...
I like yes, dear. I'm not going to lie.
But whatever she says, just yes, dear, or just whatever makes her happy, and I just go along and exist. I'm like, that can't be it.
Yeah.
And so for me, that marriage community did all those same things. It normalized some of the things we were going through, but it also showed me how to come out of it. It also gave me now a roadmap, and it helped me understand too that that's what it means to have a marriage vision. I thought like a company where you just have this overall arching vision, like the company mission or theme line, and everything gets lumped up into that. Mm-hmm. No, you had to break it down. You had to have a vision for what you wanted your finances to look like, a vision for what you wanted your family to look like, a vision for how you would communicate, a vision for how you were going to pursue God. And yes, it sounds like a lot because marriage takes a lot
Yes, it
if you're
does.
going to climb the mountain
Yes.
instead of turning around and running when it
Yeah.
gets tough.
Yeah.
And it made me understand that stuff. And now, because I had a community with me, it didn't seem insurmountable. I remember even one of the analogies talking about a mountain again, and how even in conflict, where if you're in conflict with your spouse and you decide that I'm done with this, is as if you decided to go down the mountain and you left your spouse back at the top by themselves. And the goal was always to come down together. And just like you come down together, when you're in that valley season, you have to go up together. And sometimes you need some people that have already made it to the top to throw down that rope and say, hey, climb this rope.
Yeah.
This will get you to the top. And that rope being, this is how you communicate in a healthy way. That rope being, this is how you go after your careers in a healthy way, where it doesn't destroy your marriage in the process.
Yeah.
This is how you set boundaries so that you don't have people on the outside speaking into your marriage that have no business doing so. Because while we were looking for that couple, that community, we had some people telling us some things, but it was never anything healthy. It was, oh, well, if that's what's happening, then maybe you need a divorce. Yeah. If that's what's happening, maybe it's time to come back home. Like, we had people telling us those things, but nobody was telling us what it took to actually come out until we got into that community.
Yeah.
So because of that, it almost broke us.
But that community and those tools and things that we learned definitely helped to heal us. And it kind of sparked, kind of like where we are today. Just trying to leave an impact to couples, because it's so much easier to pick up where someone left off than having to relive those same nightmares that we did. So like, that's something that we're trying to do in our community. If we could help some couples walk through their early marriage season and not make those same mistakes, like, it's just going to go further faster. And that's just been one of our goals, is just kind of share our story and pray that through hearing it, God heals you, or you get some direction, and you are able to establish that vision for your life. And we share this a lot through our program, our premarital program, our break sessions, where we get intimate with you guys. It's like one-on-one time with us, where we get to share more of those tips and tricks and tools and hear specifically your situation. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, definitely go ahead and book a free break session, just to see, how our program can help you.
Yeah, I remember hearing it said that wisdom is not learning from your own mistakes, is learning from the mistakes of others. Because why get those bumps and bruises? Like, a wise person doesn't want to go through that and get the same bumps and bruises that somebody else got. A wise person sees the bumps and bruises somebody else got and say, well, how can I avoid that beating? Because I don't want that too.
Yeah.
But I do want what you got on the other side of that beating. I do want what you got on the other side of that valley season. And that's what truly our program, what we do, why we have these conversations is all about, is sharing wisdom and sharing, in this particular case, the bumps and bruises that almost broke us, because now we got wisdom on the other side. And now we can share some tools of how to communicate in a healthy way. Now we have a whole vision outline to help you map out the vision for your marriage and your relationship, so that you don't also invite the enemy up into your relationship and start to sow a seed of division.
Yeah.
Now we have that wisdom to share with others, because we have been there, we've done that, and we almost didn't make it.
Yeah, that's so good, babe. So good. So the last thing that almost broke us, and we talked about it, the fact that we only had Sundays together, is we weren't very intentional with our time.
Yeah.
And it was important that we find some time, because if your life is too busy that you don't have time for your partner, then something needs to change. That's not normal. That's not healthy. And you're never going to thrive in that kind of situation. So finding intentional time. So we've done a million and one different things to try to make sure that our schedules kind of align. And then now, like once you throw kids into the midst of that, like they really try to monopolize all the time. So every week, we try to schedule out time that we're going to have with one another. And even letting our kids know, like, this is our time together. You cannot impede on this space because it's important for us. Like, I remember, I don't know if it was last week or the week before that, we were going out, but the kids weren't. And Lay was like, well, why can't I go? And I said, you want mom and dad to like each other, right? We need some time together. Mom and dad need some time where it's just us. We get to talk. And I don't know if she truly understood it, but she was like, oh, yeah, I want you and daddy to like each other.
And we often hear, like, either it don't take all that, or it should just happen naturally.
Yeah.
It should just be spontaneous. When we were dating, he would just call me or just show up and we would just go do something. If it was just going to happen naturally, then again, it wouldn't be more than 50% divorce rate. If it was just going to happen naturally, it wouldn't have been so hard for us to find that mentor couple or marriage community. If it was just going to happen naturally, I wouldn't have been told happy wife, happy life, just learn to say yes, dear. It doesn't happen naturally.
Yeah.
You have to be intentional. You have to actually schedule the time. You don't just naturally wake up in the morning and go to work whenever you feel like it. I mean, that may be lovely if you could just wake up whenever you feel like it and decide I'm going to work 3 hours and then I'm going to just get back in the bed. But it doesn't happen naturally. You have a set schedule. You don't just, once you have kids, just naturally take them to school. Like, is a set time for them to go to school? Is a set time for them to pick them up? And yes, it sounds like you're just adding something else to the regiment. But what's more important? Waiting for it to naturally happen?
Yeah.
Actually making sure it gets done.
Yeah.
Making sure you have those conversations to connect with your spouse continually. Making sure that you continue to date your spouse. So while we're saying, like, it won't happen naturally, you're putting the time on the calendar. But whatever you do can be the natural and spontaneous thing. You can say, we're going out on Friday night, but your spouse don't know what you're going to do. And now you make that the spontaneous piece. They just need to know to be ready at 6 o'clock. But you still add the flavor to it. You still add the excitement to it.
You want me to be ready at 6 on Friday?
You probably going to work, but when we have our family meeting, again, another intentional thing that I only thought was done on, like, the family sitcoms. When we have our family meeting, we lay all of that out. We know what the whole week is going to look like for each other. So we know where we can carve out time for each other. And again, when you're doing those other things intentionally, then the natural part may start to fall in there because you build up the muscle, you build up the habit so that you can do those things, so that you don't keep facing the same mountains, because you put in practices in play to help you navigate and help you stay on that mountain so that you don't end up back in the valley.
Yeah.
So you can have the happily ever after, but remember, the happily comes after you actually climb the mountain. It's not just a fairy tale. It can be a reality.
Right. We shared some gems, okay? So step 1 is making sure that you get a vision. Yeah. You have to have a vision. And, like, start with the things that you're already doing well in, like, get that momentum up. Absolutely. If you're doing date nights well, start with that. What does it truly look like to be intentional with date nights? And then build, saving those harder areas so you have some momentum going, okay? The second thing that you need to do is find a mentor or a small group community. You gotta surround yourself with people that you want to run with, people that can pour into your life, people that can speak into your life, people that can check you. You need those people in your life.
That both of you agree on.
Both of you agree on. Yes, this is true. And then the last thing is that you have to be intentional with your time. We don't have that much time, y'all. Like, You get 24 hours a day, and most people sleep 6 of those. And then we spend 8 hours at work.
Yeah.
Or more, yes, as a nurse. So you don't have that much time. So you have to be intentional with the small amount of time that you have, and you have to set it and then make sure that you're following through on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't, go over to Instagram and follow us on Instagram, where we share marriage tips and tricks every single day. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. We'll see you guys in the next video.
Brag on it.